Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and on behalf of Elizabeth Nichols, our researcher and author of this most interesting historical book, and Tony Van Rooyen, who will be launching it, and the others who have contributed, I welcome you and thank you for being here this afternoon. I have been privileged to have had the opportunity to read many parts of the book, and having lived in this area since 1957, I can say that I am familiar with many of the people and the families that are featured in it. When I came to Ulverstone in 1957, the population was less than 5,000 people, and many of the Dutch families that had migrated were at that stage well established. In my memory, the Dutch community seemed enthusiastic about the opportunities that were available to them in their new country and new home. And it was obvious that they intended to work hard and get established using the skills, knowledge and experience that they had brought with them to this country. The success of many of these families is well documented many times over. And today we are reminded of the families that raised their families and raised significant businesses that they established very successfully, and they had made a success of. And of course, many of those families grew families, well-known businesses, and went on to do great things. Their businesses improved, and as a result of that, the Dutch community provided employment and opportunities for many people who were already here in Tasmania. Also, I remember that their entrepreneurial attitude in the building industry and other businesses, and their desire to progress, was not confined to this area, as some of them had already extended their businesses to other parts of our state. And as time went by, a number of the new Dutch companies were undertaking major construction works around Tasmania. On the local scene, there was also a lot of activity. And as a personal proof of this, I can tell you of my own experiences. My home that I still live in was built by the Hendricks family. The principal contractor was John, who's over here on my left. The bricklayer was Co. Hendricks. The plumber was Byrne Hendricks. The painting contractor was Jack Peterson. And the architect was Bill de Groot, who was at that stage a draftsman at Tyreside. For many years after that, Koos Venema regularly attended to our painting needs. I see Koos sitting there. There are just so many wonderful stories about the assimilation of the Dutch migrants, making friends and establishing businesses that we could talk about all day long. And there are very many memorable experiences that so many of us remember and hopefully will share today. I suppose that also in being very honest and remembering some of the issues of those days, I would have to say that not all of the existing population of this town readily accepted the new people into our community. But I am of the opinion that those people were very much in the minority. And the friendliness and pleasant personality of the Dutch people who came made it so that they were very soon accepted, and the Dutch community was soon recognised as very industrious and very friendly. And they were doing all that they could to assimilate into our community. And as we know, they did that very successfully. The proof of this successful assimilation is that so many of the original names that appear in the book are still in our community, and we are all still enjoying each other's company now 6 or 7 decades on. The book that Tony, or perhaps today he'd prefer to be called Tunis, will be making is a look into history, and I can assure you it is a must read. It is so interesting and full of wonderful memories and wonderful, extreme, articulate information. It's really hard to assess the value of this book to any of you people here. You will be amazed at the detail that Elizabeth has included, and the number of families that are featured, and the history that it reveals and reminds us of today. I, at this particular stage, would just like to welcome Elizabeth Nichols, our author, to say a few words to you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, John. It's a great privilege to be here today and to be supported by you all. I think, possibly looking around the room, there is a representative of all the families that I have written about in the book, which is great for me. It's a great pleasure to see you all. I have many people to thank, and first of all I would like to thank John and Tony in advance. I would like to thank Wendy Newton, who helped me transcribe your stories as they were recorded. I hardly knew Wendy when we started, we were just acquaintances, and she has been a great friend and a great help to me. I probably would have taken 10 years to write the book instead of 3. So thank you, Wendy. And for those who don't know, Wendy is the daughter of Eric Close, who was the friendly shopkeeper who helped the Dutch community in West Ulverstone when they first arrived. I'd like to thank my sister Mary, the grammar guru, who still can't pronounce Dutch names, but I hope there's not too many grammar mistakes in my book, because she's been through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I think she knows the book off by heart, inside out and around the wrong way. I'd also like to thank Lou Perkins, who couldn't be here today. She also helped to proofread the book. I'd like to thank Winston for all his help and support as I've been writing the book. The coffees keep coming, the meals keep getting cooked, and I couldn't do it without his help. And also to my son Adrian, who designed the cover of the book. I just sort of give him some very strange ideas, just, all pie in the sky ideas, and he puts it down and does something very special with it. And I'm just absolutely thrilled with the cover of the book. I hoped in my ideas to put down a little bit of each aspect of your trip to today. There was the life, the childhood in Holland, there was the war years, there was the migration by plane or by sea, there was the companies you set up when you came here, and how you kept the Dutch traditions going. So that's what I've hoped. I know that there are several repeats of families on the front cover, but it was mainly that they were the pictures that denoted what I wanted to say about Dutch migration in Ulverstone. So thank you all very much, and I hope you enjoy the book. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The main feature of this afternoon, of course, is the launching of the book. And it's my great pleasure now to introduce Tony van Rooyen to launch this historical record of his and our Dutch friends. Tony is a very prominent member of the Dutch community and is a very active member of our Ulverstone municipality. Tony is a significant contributor in many ways, and it is appropriate that Elizabeth chose Tony to launch this book this afternoon. So Tony, I'd like you to come forward now and launch the book.
Thank you very much, John. Ja, goedemiddag dames en heren, jongens en meisjes. Good afternoon ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I consider it an honour, and I am humbled to be asked by Elizabeth to launch this book about the history of the Dutch community in our town. This book is about success. A book's success is often measured by the number of sales, but I believe that this book is already a success because of Elizabeth's diligent research and her mighty effort in interviewing members of 32 families who relied on memories of some 65 years ago. The style of the book makes it easy to read, and I'm sure that generations to come, when researching their family history, will not only find this entertaining, but also of great interest. For me, although I have known many of the people mentioned in the book for most of my life, many of their stories I did not know, and this gives me the opportunity to become acquainted with some of their experiences. The book is a success because it reflects the immigration policy that was in place at that time in Australia. It speaks of success in integration of an ethnic group within the Australian community to such an extent that many have intermarried and many have replaced their Dutch language with Aussie slang and accent. The book gives example of the assistance given by individual Australians to the Dutch migrants, and I would acknowledge this and say thank you. The book is a success because it speaks of enterprise, resilience, challenges and achievements. I trust that all you here today will support this book. I would like to acknowledge the work of Wendy, as has already been mentioned, Wendy Newton, and we know her as Wendy Close because she had a fair bit to do with the West Ulverstone Dutch kids that was growing up at the same time as she was growing up. She did the typing from recorded interviews, and that in itself, I believe, would have been a massive task and has been well done. Elizabeth listened to many members of the 32 families and their stories. She has shown patience, skill, and a real interest in her topic. I want to congratulate you, Elizabeth, and I say thank you. Look, I've never launched a book before. I really don't know how it's done. Whether you cut a ribbon or smash a bottle of champagne. But I think in this instance, I will just play it safe if I just say, ik verklaar dat dit boek is gelanceerd. I declare that this book is launched. And I would like to invite Elizabeth to come forward, and our daughter Mika would like to present to Elizabeth just a token of our appreciation. As you well know, orange is the national colour of Holland. We couldn't get orange tulips here in Tasmania, we've just flown them out from Amsterdam.
While we have a very large gathering of people here, there were some who couldn't make it this afternoon, and we have apologies from our Mayor Jan Bond, Joy Neyman, Jerry and Dimiki Depute, Daniel Double, Mary Jackson, Lou Perkins and Corrie Best. Now I have one other presentation to be made, and that's going to be made by Mary, your sister.
Come on, Ed. What? Hi, I'm Mary. I'm Elizabeth's sister. And as a token of our appreciation from the family, on behalf of some of the Dutch people here present, I just want to say how proud we are of her for all the work she's done in local history. And I've learnt lots of names over the last few months, none of which I can pronounce. So welcome everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, while we're not looking to have long speeches, we did think that if there was anybody here who would like to say just a few words that were appropriate, short enough to be received and clapped, you're welcome to do so right at this minute. Well, there we are. I never thought that I'd be at a Dutch community meeting and they would be speechless. I mean, even I see, what's his name, Jake down there. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we're very satisfied with the presentations that have been made, and I would just recommend that the book is absolutely fantastic.